All right, I think it's working. So, hi, and hello to the Super Relaxed Fantasy Club. I'm K V Johansen. I'm in New Brunswick, Canada, where our lockdown has gone to phase orange or stage orange or something like that. I think it's orange. Might be yellow. Anyway, we're allowed to go and sort of associate with our regular friends and family and things. So I'm at the in-laws' place, and I was going to do a bit of a reading for you, but I thought first people might like to see the celebrated Mr. Wicked, whom I talk so much about on Twitter. See if I can do this. This is my laptop, by the way, that I'm kind of waving around. It's not the ideal recording medium. Ivan, come here. Come look at this. Whoa, come look at this. What's this? Look at that. What's that? Oh, not the keyboard. Up here, look. Whoa, Ivan. Ivan. There. Here. Whoa, what have I got there? What's that? Is that a dandelion? Oh, grr. What are you grrring at? Are you grrring at the Super Relaxed Fantasy Club? Here, look at that. See, it's very exciting. Ivan, otherwise known as Mr. Wicked, is not terribly impressed. Oh, he's over there groaning now. Yes, so that was Ivan. Ivan is somewhat wicked. And, oh, the black flies are out. It's spring. So I'm going to see if I can pause this and go and find a book to read to you. Sorry, I'm just looking for the controls, and the sun is on the screen and I can't see them. I think that's a pause. All right, so it's Gabe Johansson back at the Super Relaxed Fantasy Club. Now that Ivan has gone away to lie down and contemplate whatever it is dogs contemplate on sunny May mornings. So my adult fantasy series is Gods of the Caravan Road. It's a 5-book series with a short story, the storyteller that kind of comes at the start of it. First book is Black Dog. I realize I should be showing you all the covers, but I'm at the in-laws and I don't have them. First book is Black Dog. The second one is The Leopard, followed by The Lady, Gods of Naban, and The Last Road. And I'm going to read you a little bit from The Lady, which is book 3. This is it. Can we get a nice view of it? Beautiful cover by Raymond Swanland. And you may notice it says on the front Marikand book 2. It's because Marikand is not the series. Marikand is The Leopard and The Lady together, because there's sort of a duology within the series where sorry, I do have to keep getting rid of the black flies. That you do have to read these two together, The Leopard and The Lady. And the reason I've picked this little bit of The Lady to read is that it's a bit where one of my very favorite characters begins to reveal a little bit of what he is. His character is Goo. You meet him first in The Leopard, where he is the servant of this sort of possessed, cursed assassin. Oh yes, immortal assassin, possessed, cursed, immortal assassin who claims he's dead. And Goo appears to be his servant, but people who are actually paying attention sort of notice that Ashvar is awfully dependent on him and really leans on him a lot. And at this point in the book, so we're through The Leopard and we're halfway through The Lady. At this point in things, a lot of very bad stuff has happened to Ashvar. Ashvar has had a very long life, and a lot of very bad stuff just keeps happening to him. And at this point, he is kind of basically a sort of a zombie being controlled by The Lady. There she is on the cover. And Goo is heading off to get him back. And he runs into Yael, who is a devil and immortal. And another favorite character of many. But Gu is actually my favorite character in the whole series. So this is a little bit of the end of chapter 10 and the start of chapter 11, which is a pretty short chapter. Yael sighed. She stood and stretched and drew her sword, cut a new circle in the dust-dry turf. She began with the simplest of the sword forms, turning slowly through the circle, drawing in the smallest and softest winds, the breeze that curled about the stems of grass, the last shimmer of sun's heat held captive in the day-baked stone. She wove, her sword the weaver's, beating the layered strands into orderly flow. She drew down the upper airs, slower now, yet slower, for their resistance and their strength, their mindless will to their own course was great, and they could not be severed from their stream, only borrowed. She wrapped her fabric of winds like scarves, purically draperies, flowing to earth and sky, horizon to horizon, the great contained in the small, the compass of her arm's reach. Then she cut the circle to ride the winds again, westward to Marikand. Riders of the Wind. It was an old title of the imperial wizards of Naban, though very few among them ever had the strength or the skill to master the art. Half the stories of dragons were only peasants looking up from their fields to see a wisp of cloud flying counter to the prevailing wind, leaving roiling chaos in its wake. Chapter 11. Something woke him. Gu listened, but there was only the wind in the gorse of this stony hillside, the distant murmur of the little stream in the valley bottom, an owl calling, like a warning, far away. He had been dreaming, not of Ajvar, whose dreams he fell into all too often, nightmare that left him sitting, watchful, unsleeping, while at least the mare and the dogs got their rest, but of Lady Deandara. In his dream, she slept, while some serpent banded black and orange crept near, and she had tossed and turned in nightmares of her own, unable to wake, while the thing coiled about her wrist, slithered up her arm, circled her neck, black tongue flicking over her face, her eyes and lips. Wake, he had tried to tell her, but in his dream he couldn't be certain whether she heard. He only knew she sat suddenly, and there was no snake, but she stared wide-eyed at or through him, and there was the scent of pine all about and cool water as the dream faded. He hoped she had come to no harm. Perhaps he had only woken because she did, or she had, or she would. Would, he thought. The snake had not yet come. But then one of the dogs growled. Gu flung his blanket aside and stood looking up at the sky. He was tired, bone-weary from riding bareback and often sitting at a trot. Mile upon day, 3 weeks now, he thought, 3 weeks and some, by the moon, which kept track when he forgot to count the days that ran together. It was not yet midnight. The stars were scattered with small moon-silvered clouds, scudding shadows against the sky, and fog pooled in the valley. For a moment the wind, which had blown steadily from the south all day, growing stronger and stronger, so that he wondered if some great storm might be beating on the cliffs over which he had lived with Aj, skirled about, flattening grass into circles, rolling west. Julie, the silver ash dog, barked and leapt at nothing, teeth snapping. Even his stolen mare, whose weariness must overreach his own, woke, shaking her mane and laying back her ears. No, Gu said. Hardly knowing he did so or how, he reached into the wind and gathered it, shaking it free from the knots that bound it, pulling it, combing it loose. For a moment they stood in buffeting storm. He flung an arm over his eyes against the dust, and the mare swung around, tail too, head lowered. Jot, the black and tan, crouched and snarled, and Dewey put himself safely behind Gu's knees. He caught up his forge knife, laid close by the blanket as Deandara's wizard landed, shaken from the wind, to stand before him, sword in hand. Different, even by moonlight. Not an old woman now, black hair swinging to her hips, tangled and knotted by the wind, but beautiful as a tiger was, best appreciated from far away. Old eyes, angry ones holding their own light. You, she snarled, but after a moment she sheathed her sword. How in the cold hells did you do that? Gu blinked, shrugged, and spread his hands, though he did not lay aside his own blade. Don't play the idiot with me. I don't for a moment think you're the fool the girl takes you for, nor nearly so young or innocent. What did you do? I don't know. What have you done with the lady? Deandara, I left her queen of the Duina Caterna and with Lord Marnock. He's the Caternan war leader. She's safe enough. The wizard didn't meet his eye. You said you'd protect her and take her to her brother. She didn't want to go to her brother. Her duty was elsewhere, she decided. I decided I could protect her best by ensuring her Duina is safe, and nothing in this part of the world is safe, nothing with a devil in Marikand. 3 devils. She considered him. You're not surprised. You knew there was a devil? Not 3, unless you count yourself. You see so well, do you? He shrugged again. Neither goddess nor demon of the earth, nor human wizard. Now give me the word, and Now you give me the word, and it settles into place on you yourself. What else could you be except a dragon? And I don't think you're a dragon. Her eyes narrowed. Have you ever met a dragon? Yes, he considered. Once, I think. Her mouth opened and shut. You think? You don't know. It might have been a dream. I have strange dreams. Deandara with a snake about her throat. She folded her arms. I am one of the 7. My name is Yael. I was your empress once. Never, he said, my empress. And she backed a step. He smiled to hide his confusion. I may be older than the little queen thinks, but not nearly so old as all that. Yael was dowager and regent, never empress in the songs of the market singers, and she was driven to the west and into the tales of the north long ago. Though I've heard she came back, too, and then maybe she called herself empress, but she is not in the lists of the emperors sung at imperial funerals, and the gods themselves fought her. Yael the Beautiful. The devil Dotaman, yes? She seemed not so much to slump as to relax, gesturing with an open hand, letting something go. Very well, if you refuse to be impressed, I shall stop trying to be impressive. She eyed him sidelong. Even by moonlight, he could see she was beautiful, her face unlined now, lips full, her eyes dark, long-lashed. That won't work either. She snorted. So Deandara says. I think she's mistaken. Shall I be an old woman again? He did laugh then. She's very young. I think her world is very simple. Yael, you don't frighten me. Maybe you should, but you don't. You are very lovely, and I'd sooner make sweet eyes at a dragon. You were never a convincing old woman. Yes, I decided I could do without bringing back my aching knuckles and my bad knee. Once in a mortal lifetime was enough. I was an old woman when I drifted to the north. Fled, the stories say. What are you going to do, since there are 3 devils in the city? Will you join with one of them, bring allies to Deandara? Not likely, but if I can find the one who's made the red masks, I can destroy them all at once, and Durandal and Marnock between them can deal with Ketsum and make Deandara's Duina safe for her, if Durandal will let her rule it, but that's a separate problem. And what are you doing here? You went into the city to find your assassin. Did he kill the voice? Yes, he answered, because what did it matter? He could see her rode, this devil wizard, through the air, the winds she would gather, how she meant to drop like a thunderbolt upon the city, weaving a dance with her sword against the power that bound the red masks, thrusting herself into the heart of it, turning the chains that wove about them to fire, swift and sudden. Ash burning in the fire from the sky, every red mask, poor dead slave, burning, cleansing the empty, defiled bodies. That was what the devil intended, and Ash burned in his nightmares so many nights that he didn't even remember, didn't even wake, but he cried out, reaching. Move your hand, Nabani man. Gu's hand was over hers on the grip of her sword. Jewy and Jot had come one to either side, silent, hackles rising. He could see her, see into her, how she was flesh and bone and liquid light spun together. If she resisted him, if she fought, what was he but flesh and bone in a confused dream? There was a red light behind her eyes, and he could feel the fires within her, but he only tightened his fingers. They were bone, flesh and bone, and if she wanted to fight him as anything else, she jerked her hand away, leaving the sword standing. What are you? Nothing, he said, only becoming. But he has no one else to defend him. I do name him mine, then. In this time, in this place, he will not burn again. The devil was confused, distracted, demanding, who? And though she had backed a step from her sword, she still looked at him as a curiosity, a little creature, hissing harmless defiance. There was a pine on the mountain. There were willows with roots and the river's rich silt. She had been bound so before. Roots stretched, and for a moment Gu saw her as bone, a skeleton standing before him, laced with veins of golden light, her veil of hair still silken lovely, white claws reaching for the sword. And then she crumpled into the earth, bone upon bone, and roots held her. Under snow, under stream. He fell to his knees and tried to breathe. Not yet, he whispered. No. The dogs came to him, wet noses whimpering, pressing, licking their concern, because he hurt, and he was afraid, and he wept. He didn't remember why. There was a sword standing in the earth, and the long silken tassel of it blew in the wind from the south. It was the east pulled him, dragged to break his heart. Goo rolled up his blanket, made up his bundle again, whistled for the mare, who came willingly for all the hour of the night, lowering her head to the rope halter and single rein that was all the harness he had for her. She was a hill pony cross, black with a kite-marked face, tall but sturdy and hardy, and if she was still a bit on the bony side, she was strong and willing enough, and her unshod hooves were sound. She was looking glossier, maybe, even fatter, than when Goo had slipped her loose from a dealer's picket line in the night, a day's journey beyond the eastern wall, though for over 3 weeks she had fed on nothing but what the hills gave. He would ride on now, while it was cool and the wind was fresh. They could sleep through the heat of the afternoon. So that's a bit of the lady. And introducing Goo beginning to change, to become what he will become. Ajvar and Goo were never actually supposed to be in more than just the first part of Marikand. Ajvar was originally supposed to kind of show up, precipitate the crisis by killing the voice of Marikand, and then die. He was merely a catalyst and a weapon, and because I gave him Goo, because Ajvar on his own with nothing to talk to and react to was really, grim and silent, and grim and silent's not actually that interesting. So I gave him Goo, and once I gave him Goo, the two of them just took over, and they took over the whole series. They show up in book 2, and they're right central at the end of everything in the last road, which was not the path I anticipated for them at all. It just goes to show that, in some ways, the story of a character has its own demands, and if you don't pay attention to them, your story is going to be weaker, because it's very hard to imagine Gods of the Caravan Road without Ajvar and Goo as this central thread through it now. So that's that. I hope you enjoyed the reading. I hope you enjoyed meeting Ivan. And I guess that's it. I'll say goodbye, and then I'll hunt for the controls to turn this off. Bye.